Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Really appreciate you being here today. Give me a quick second to get screen share up and running because it's a little bit, I've got a couple of screens that I work through. So making sure that everybody's where they need to be is sometimes challenging. Okay, cool. So welcome all. Appreciate you attending this webinar by SCORE. I just want to highlight that SCORE is really the best kept secret in the United States in the business community. I've spoken with a lot of people, do a lot of networking at BNI events and other events, and they're all like, what is SCORE exactly? How does it work? So, you know, the fact that you guys are here, really glad to see that you're looking to improve your business and make some changes. So thank you for attending. As Tony said, this is our digital marketing series. This is our 5th webinar, and you can look at some of our previous webinars on score.org or our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to catch up on some of the stuff that we've done in the past, or feel free to reach out to either Tony and myself if you're looking to get information about, you know, us, what we do, and how all this stuff works. My name is Peter Bemko. I am a digital marketing consultant, a SCORE mentor, and as Tony mentioned, the social media chair for the Southeast New Jersey SCORE chapter. And I just want to take a quick minute right off the bat to just see who's with us today. So if you guys want to just into the chat, you know, tell me, are you a business owner, right? Are you somebody who's just starting out in exploring the idea of business ownership, seeing what's possible? This is a bit of an advanced topic that we're covering. So really, this is an opportunity for office managers, people who run businesses for other people, to get some information about what they can be doing in order to improve their conversions, improve their leads, and such like that. So hopefully you guys will be able to let me just do a quick. So if you guys were oh, that's to everyone. We need that. So looking to see, you know, where everybody is at. So we'll give you guys a couple of minutes. So if you'd be so kind. You know, and as Tony mentioned, the score.org provides a lot of resources. And at the end of the presentation, I'll be able to provide you with some of the resources that I actually got from SCORE to do parts of this. This particular presentation is based off of a book by WSI, who I partner with, and it's called the Digital Minds book, and you can pick up a copy on Amazon, and I'll be able to provide the link to you guys. Okay, so we have a shy group, Tony.
Yes,
okay?
We do.
Not a lot of participation. So okay, all right. Well, let's just continue on then. Let's just keep on going. Okay, so let's talk about the topics we're going to cover today. Right? We're going to talk about the various things that you can do to help yourself, and most of them are common sense, right? They're going to think about the things that you can do with your current website if you have one, right? Talk about calls to actions, right? Things that you might not want to do that will really not provide good value for you and your website. And then we're just going to touch really briefly on best practices from an e-commerce perspective, right? At the end of the day, you really have to put yourself in the position of the people that are visiting your website, right? That initial visit, they don't have a vested interest in you. They're just looking for information, right? And they don't think about the fact that it's you or personal. It's just a website, right? And there's really, what you want to make sure that you're doing is nurturing that person through the buyer journey, understanding who your ideal client is, who you're attracting to your website, and you want to be sensitive to that. You You want to be sensitive to make sure that take them down, give them the information they're looking for, and answer the questions that they are asking or be able to ask. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some things that you can employ right away to make some changes for. So one of my favorite philosophers, those who grew up in the New York area in the 50s and 60s know Yogi Berra, right? He was a catcher for the New York Yankees, but he was one of those guys who would say things and it would sound okay, but it would really be like, when you started to think about it. Like one of my favorites is when you come to a fork in the road, take it. So this one in particular, right, applies to what we're talking about. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. So, it makes total sense, but it's like, okay. So again, the objective of what we're talking about, of what anybody who's in business, is to really increase your leads and sales, right? This is where you want to help to grow your business. And a lot of that can occur on your website, because your website is your billboard. That's the first place that people are going to go, or that's a destination page for folks. If I really had one slide to talk about, it's this slide, right? This really underpins a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, all right? A lot of things you can look at, conversion rate optimization, or what they call CRO. You can look up on the internet. There's lots of people who are talking about it, but some people are talking tactics, and some people just talk really high level. But let's walk through an example here, right? So let's pretend that you get about 12,000 visitors a year, right? Roughly 1,000 visitors a month. And of those 12,000 visitors, you convert 120 of those into customers. So about a 1% conversion ratio. Now, in your plan for the next year, you talk about, okay, I want to increase the number of customers I've got. And you could do that a number of different ways. One of those ways is by increasing your traffic. So to increase your traffic, you now have to get it with your 1% conversion ratio. You are looking at 36,000 clients, 36,000 different visitors that come to your website. And at that 1% conversion rate, you're now at your 360 customers. But getting that traffic is really challenging. That requires a whole different level of investment in things. Now, you could also start to upsell your clients. You could say, okay, I have new services. I have add-ons. I'm doing a brand new bundle. I understand you're using product X, Y, or Z, and I'm rebundling things. So what if you bought this? I'll give it to you as a discount, or I'll give you some type of an incentive in order to increase. So you can definitely do some upsell, and that'll help. Still, you come back to that traffic problem, right? And traffic and sourcing traffic is expensive. But what if you could increase your conversion rate with the same amount of visitors to your website? So if you wanted to get to 360, that's 3% from 1%. And it's definitely possible, right? And it's one of those things it's a gift that keeps on giving, in a sense. So if you increase the conversion rate on your website, that means you're improving things about your website. You're taking the time to, again, provide information for your clients, and they're reacting to your calls to action. They are clicking on the button that says, yes, this is the person who I want to go to. Because when you first go to a website, right, you're always looking at, well, what is this site? Can I trust this site? Do I know where I'm going? Okay. So as I said, again, if you can increase your conversion rate, that means you don't have to go out and buy any new traffic. You can keep doing the same thing as you're doing, but yet continue to grow your client base. Now, people come to your website. We all have this really short attention span today, and it's not just people that come to your website, but it's any website. It's anything today. You know, we're constantly scrolling. We've got that finger on our phones, or we've got, you know, on the website that we just want to see what we've got, and people want what they want, right? And they don't really read. They scan, right? We look at headlines, we look at images, we look at the bullet points that are part of the images, and then we read further if there's more information. Your objective is to comb through your copy. Think about, is it as succinct as you can possibly be? Yeah, there's a whole other camp that talks about keywords and searches and things like that, but let's take the search engines and Google and all that stuff out of it and talk about personal touches, one person at a time. Now, if you were somebody who didn't know anything about your company, if you didn't know anything about the products that you were offering, is it clear? Some people just write because they feel it needs to have a lot of information on it. You know, less is not more, just enough is more. You want to have it exactly right. The other aspect of things that you don't want to be doing, right, is asking for too much. A lot of people come through, and we'll talk about forms and other types of pop-ups in a little bit, but people come through and they immediately say, hey, give me your email address, or give me your name, and here's a pop-up and this other information. And you haven't really given that person a chance to take a look at your website, right? It's like it's a relationship, right? That first time they come to your website, you're starting to flirt, right? You're giving them some information. You're starting to establish the relationship. So that they contacted you, they're trying to get information. You maybe put a chat back and forth, or you provided them with something of interest, and then they start to come back. So now you're starting to go on a date, right? And then as they start to go through and actually say, yes, I want to work with this, now you're getting married, right? But when you're coming through in that first spot, don't just start to say, hey, give me your phone number, give me your email address, give me your address, so that we can figure some stuff out. We can start to give you more information. Build that relationship first, and that happens when you start to really go through your copy, make sure it's succinct, okay? And start to move yourself forward that way. So let's talk about some forms, right? Again, the forms that we ask people to fill out, how much do you actually need in that first interaction, right? Is there, or what is the goal of that person coming to your website? Are you trying to get them to walk all the way through to buy the product? So now the question becomes, where are they in your buyer journey or your sales funnel? Okay, so you want to be able to kind of nurture them. Now, just ask for the minimal information that you really need as far as that goes, right? So if you can get away with just either the name and email address or the phone number, that's as much as you really want to have, right? That's because you're just starting the relationship and just starting to get things going. Now, there is a place for longer forms. So if you have a complex product, if you have something that you want to help you qualify the people who are coming to your websites, a longer form with additional information can be very helpful. I don't know if you guys use Calendly or any of the automated calendar features that are available now in order to set up meetings with people. But in that, in the one that I use specifically, my last question for them is what is something that we want to talk about in order to be able to prepare for the conversation, so that we both know what we're there to communicate about. But typically it's just email address and name, and then you pick the time of where you want to be. Another thing that you might want to consider in all of your forms is a privacy button on the form specifically that shows here's a link to our privacy policy. It's a way of doing social proof. You're putting confidence back to the person who's about to give you information. So I don't know how many people that are on this call have read privacy policy. It was part of my job years ago to go through privacy policies and understand them. So I might be the only one in a long line of people who does read them, but it always helps me to know that yes, they're there. And privacy policies are being applied more and more. Like you have, if you're working within the European Union, you have GDPR. If you're doing stuff in California, you have California's privacy policies that you need to adhere to. So it's as far as taking people's information with opt-ins and such like that. So that having that privacy button is something that really gives you some good social proof, and it gives the client a feeling of a level of assurance. So let's talk about pop-ups. How many people have been annoyed by pop-ups, right? You've gone to the website and you've just started to look for something and up pops a pop-up. Join my newsletter. Get information about my products. Join my weekly email about all of these different things. Well, why would we want to join that newsletter? Because we haven't even looked at the website itself, right? How does that make you feel? Because you've just done a search and now you're suddenly bombarded with, give me your information, give me your information, give me your information, right? So there are right ways and wrong ways to do it. And there's many ways to do it, right? If you want to do it right off the bat, that's one way. It's probably not the most effective. A slightly more effective way, a little bit better, is to put a timer on a pop-up, and in that pop-up, say, put it at 10 seconds or put it at 15 seconds, something like that. They've read a bit, they've been able to explore the site a little bit more, and you can ask them a pointed question, right? Something about what they want to do to get more information that way. Another way of doing it is when they've reached a certain place in the website or scroll down a series of pages. You can then have the pop-up come up when they've hit a certain spot in the website, right? So therefore you at least know there's something there. An alternate way to do it is to use it when there's an intent to exit. So you've seen these, we've all been part of them, that you've gone through the website and you're like, okay, this isn't what I need to do. And you go up towards the X button, right? Or you go towards the back button in order to go back to the previous website. And then, up pops a pop-up, right? That could be an appropriate place to put it, because now you're offering something different. You're offering something more, because you can see that they have taken the time to look through your website. But make sure it's something that's worthwhile, something that they want, right? Because they might be a little bit further down the funnel or further down the buyer's journey at this point. Okay, you might invite them to a webinar, you might invite them to a gathering, but make sure that whatever you're going to offer them is really something that's worth their while. For example, and this is no affront to plumbers or anything like that. If I'm looking for a plumber, I really don't need to subscribe to a newsletter that talks about plumbing tips and tricks, right? I really want to know if I'm doing that, I just want to get my leak fixed or whatever I need to do, okay? If you're part of the financial services industry, you may want to understand what the latest legislation is around financial services. You may want something that talks about what the market's doing on a regular basis in a different way if you don't have that information. So again, make sure that it's worthwhile whenever you're doing a pop-up, whatever that you're offering to those clients. Okay. So something that we're seeing more and more of is chat. So we talk about these chat bots, and we talk about it's a kind of an artificial intelligence, or what I like to call applied intelligence, right? The number one rule is don't try to fool people into thinking it's live, okay? As this started to become more popular, people tried to make it say, oh, well, this is a live person that's actually talking to you, and it's not. It's not. I think that we've all realized that there's not somebody on the other side of that chat. However, the chat is a great way to segregate people, to place them into various areas of where your product or service can provide them value. So for example, right, they might be looking for a specific piece of information about how to do something, or whether or not you provide a service, or they also just could be looking for hours of operation, which, you know, that's part of your website, but they chose to interact with a chat. So a lot of people would sometimes prefer chat to going and searching a website. But again, these are all pre-programmed sequences. So when we talk about segregation, an example is a school. Okay, so somebody may go onto a school website and use the chat to say, hey, my son wasn't in school today, I'd like to get the homework. And then that chatbot could direct them to the teacher or the particular class that they're looking for information on by doing a sequence of phrases and such. Or alternatively, that could be a potential parent or potential student who they want to explore the school. So now you have separated them into existing versus new, and you can now nurture that person by saying, okay, let's send you a newsletter or a sample of what we do for our kids, and a brochure, things like that. And now you've had the opportunity to capture their email address or things like that, right? The other aspect of this, something else to consider, is that some people use Facebook Messenger as part of their chatbot strategy, because you may have somebody who's interacting with a chatbot, but then doesn't want to give you any information and just disengages, closes the pages, and moves on. Now, if you use Facebook, you may not know who they are, but Facebook does. And there is an option with Facebook, I believe it's 24 hours, where you can reach out to that person and try to engage them again. And if they engage with you, there's another timer that starts on another 24 hours. So you now have an opportunity to re-engage, to try to have the conversation with them, to see what other services or products they might need. Okay. Again, AI chat works while you're not around, but ultimately nothing beats a live chat of a real person. And that's actually another option too. There are companies that actually do live chats, and they will take on that persona but using a script that you provide. But let's take a quick look at a couple of chats, a couple of chat examples. On the left side is something that we fudged purposely, okay? You know, it's not the actual screenshot, but, you know, reading through it, right? You know, hey friend, I'm Larry, the chatbot, ask me anything you want, and stuff's spelled wrong, and I'll try to answer it, okay? That's kind of just somebody trying to put their stuff together and not doing a very good job at it. Whereas the one on the right is actually from a news organization, right? And if you read through that, you know, hi, so-and-so, I'm from the news organization, you know, I'm here to help bring you the most important news of the day. There's lots going on in the world, and I can send you daily updates, top stories, or you can message me about a topic or an interest in politics, technology, and I'll send you that latest information. So, okay, let's get started, and here's some options. And then there's an arrow pointing down on how you opt in. And there's choices of, you know, a daily update or breaking news, okay? So, you know, which one of these do you actually think is going to get more interaction, right? The one on the left, right, with Larry the chatbot, which will have no idea of what you're going to ask, or something that's on the right, which has more scripted responses, and it has a series of sequence that it's going to going to go through. Because ultimately, once you start answering these questions and you start to engage, you want to have that interaction result in a phone call or a purchase of business. So now let's talk a little bit about video. Video is everywhere. Okay, I don't want to use the word ubiquitous, but it's everywhere, right? We're at TikTok and video, it's becoming much more and more important because people want to be engaged in different ways. And many people would rather watch a video than reading through something. They want to be shown how it's done. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. Okay, people go to YouTube to find things, how to do things, but also get informed and get their news of the day or things like that. Now, generally speaking, you want to have shorter videos than a big long one. And if you want to have a longer video, if you have something that's longer, edit it down into multiple videos so that people look at them all the way through to the end. Okay, because the last thing everybody wants to do is spend 10 minutes when all they needed was a small snippet right in the middle at 5 minutes. And people, again, are more likely to invest 30 seconds to a minute watching your video. An exception to that is the old infomercial style content, which is workable. You just need to put together a compelling script. It's got to be well edited. It's got to be produced. The flip side of that are phone and computer videos, right? You could use those for all sorts of testimonials and reviews and recommendations. And the real person makes a difference because it's somebody who, you could write them a script, but it's coming from a person as opposed to being polished, right? It's real. It feels interactive. And that 30-second video from a happy client that's providing you a review goes a real long way to a polished video of you or someone else going through stuff. Now, again, there's all sorts of ways to do videos. It's not just about somebody like me standing and talking to you and doing things. You can do a time-lapse video of packing something or assembling something. You can do drone footage. A lot of schools now, we touched on schools before, a lot of them are doing footage of the classrooms, of the grounds to show the type of support that they provide for the kids. Okay, there's all sorts of different things you can do with videos, and you've probably seen them if you've been on LinkedIn, the carousel videos on Facebook. People are doing all sorts of stuff, and it really helps you to showcase your business. So let's talk about building credibility. So that's something that's extremely powerful. Okay? You build credibility because you have experience in a specific industry, or you talk about how you got certain results. That helps people have a high level of confidence in your product and your company, and you get to then lay out how you got to those results. In a typical storytelling fashion, you have the hero's journey, right? You have somebody that is a normal person, something happened to them, and this is how they overcame it. Now you can use, again, video and social proof to highlight that credibility, that increase that trust. There's testimonials you can put out, right? But there's a difference between a testimonial and a review. Anybody can write a testimonial because there is no really way to validate a testimonial, okay? However, if you do a review, whether it's on Google or on Yelp or a LinkedIn recommendation, those carry a lot more credibility. There's a lot more social proof on those because that person has to be logged in. They have to say who they are in order to get on that platform and provide that. It's a way to highlight that legitimacy of what there is. The other thing to think about is trust icons. Your Better Business Bureau, certain awards that you might like. But one thing that and I think everybody does this, but some people might not, is having your phone number. People want to know that they can get in touch with you. The internet banks that sprung up over the course of the last 10 years. The hard part for me with dealing with any of them, and I did deal with one of them, is the fact that everything had to go through email. There was no phone number to call. There was nobody to help me when I had a problem. Whereas I could go to a Bank of America, a Chase, a TD Bank, a Wells Fargo, pick up the phone, and within 6 rings, I had a person who was talking to me. So your phone number is part of your credibility, okay? Even if no one ever calls you on that phone number, it's still something that shows that you are building the business that you want to have. So let's take look at a couple of examples. Let's move to calls to actions. Now, the calls to actions are those words, those phrases that help people to take a step. They are the things that you're saying, that we see them all the time, and some are better than others, and some actually have us do something, others we don't do anything with. But that's the payoff here, right? You've got somebody at your website, you've got them interested, right? You've made your point, you've talked about how good your company is, they have a clear understanding, you've moved them through your sales funnel, and they're now ready to buy, and it's the moment of truth of, okay, do they click the button, and how do you kind of help them to do that? So in our first example, it's from a company called Square, right? And they're a service that supports small businesses with credit card processing using your phone. So you can actually be anywhere, right? And their pitch, their unique selling point, is to start selling in Canada for this particular slide, right? Take care of your business anywhere with Square. And then instead of using just click here or submit, they use get a free trial. Now, what are they doing in those short words? Get, which is an action word. Free, one of the most powerful words on the internet. Trial is, I'm going to try you out. We're going to see whether this works or doesn't work. It doesn't provide an obligation. And they have Square, which shows their brand. So it gives you a series of actions that you can take. And they pack a lot into it. So the second example is from Blog Growth, and it's a pitch, right? Their pitch is to get 20 guides, checklists, and templates to accelerate your blog's growth. And growth, again, is another set of good, powerful words. Accelerate, these are all powerful words. And it's real simple. Download the guides. You can't confuse that with, oh, I'm going to go off and order something or things like that. This is it. Just download the guides, the good matching words, and the guide is exactly what I'm getting. And it works in its simplicity. It's telling me exactly what to do. It's telling your client exactly what to do. The third one is Pipedrive, right? And it talks about taking control of your sales process. And even better, try it free with the exclamation point in the right spot. And get started for free, just like download the guide, is even better because it uses that word free. So let's take a look at some other call to action examples from a couple of live websites. So I'm going to show you some pop-ups from some of my partners. And so this first one is for a client that WSI worked with called Ocean Point Dental Academy. So you get to read through some of the information, but as we're leaving, because this is just a screenshot, as you're getting ready to leave, the next thing that comes up is, wait, don't miss a chance to ask us all of your questions at our next virtual open house. And it's got a calendar that shows you that there is a countdown for when the open house happens, right? And it has an implied sense of urgency, because the seconds are ticking away. So you're like, oh, well, I don't want to miss this opportunity. So the person who's here, right, kind of has that fear of missing out, right? And again, it shows up just as they were about to leave. So here's another one. And this is from a page from one of my WSI partners. And they help schools provide better offers. And this is doing a marketing blueprint for schools. Again, people can read through this, but as you get to leave, right, you get another pop-up and you get to wait. Don't leave empty-handed, right? Thanks for stopping by. And I invite you to download one of our 4 guides from our school marketing resource library. And they click on that, and that goes to a page that has a number of different guides and things. And they can get them for free. Well, not really free, because we're going to ask for their name and email address. Now, their name and email address goes into a database. Now, hopefully you guys have thought about having a database of contacts and people who are your clients or potential clients. And once that name goes into a database, it triggers a workflow. And the workflow is basically a series of emails that they then get on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and they get what school marketing quick tips. So you can see that if they wanted to chat, they could talk on there's a chat icon in the lower right-hand side. And of course, there's always the phone call if they wanted to pick up the phone and talk. But right now, that last call to action as a pop-up gives them an opportunity to interact with us with the website one more time to see if they're really interested in just getting another set of information that they might not have found as they were perusing the website. So I'm going to take a quick drink. You'll excuse me. So let's talk about a little some best practices. Okay, I got to speed this up, Tony. You're not keeping me on time. So let's talk about some best practices. Make the call to action easy to notice. Okay, you can make it a different color. You can make it something else, right? But don't make it so that it blends in with the background. You're not just trying to take a picture of it. You want this to be front and center. You want people to see it and what they do. The other piece to this is to put it above the fold. So that means that to have it in that first top section of your website, the fold refers to a newspaper terminology. Like, so when you got like the New York Times, or in New Jersey, the New York Star Ledger, or things like that, since the paper was folded in half, you wanted to be above the fold because that was where the headlines were. That was where the catch stuff was. That was where the leads were. But you want to be above the fold. Now you could certainly put that call to action in multiple places, lower down on the page or things like that. That's perfectly fine. But don't put a second call to action. Keep your calls to actions consistent. Okay, you want them to be eye-catching as part of your headlines. All right. You make sure you use action-oriented words. You want to use words like download now, sign up for free, looking at those examples of get your trials, right? Those are unambiguous and they give specific directions. The other thing to do is to use first person voice. There has been some research that it's more effective to say, download my ebook, because they've now taken ownership of it, versus downloading your ebook. And of course, timing, right, is everything, right? Putting that call to action in front of people is really good at the right time. It's the right message at the right time. Because again, if you put up a call to action when they first come to your website, that might not be very effective. Okay. The last thing you can do from a best practice is create a sense of urgency, a sense of missing out. That's where the timers in our previous example has come in. Now let's talk about some campaign killers, some things that you could do to undermine your campaign. And the first one is just too much text, not being succinct in what the message that you're trying to say. There is a movement in long form content that you create various blog posts, and they've got a lot of information, or long sales letter and such. When you're talking about your website, right, there could be pages like that, but when you're trying to really just bring people in from a social media site or something like that, bring the traffic in, just minimize your text, be succinct so people know exactly what they're finding, and they know exactly where to find next, what's next on that. Don't use a lot of links, because the links then move people off in different directions and take them away from your call to action of what you want them to do. And if you're going to use links, please open them up in a different browser. Make sure that your web developer opens them up differently, because otherwise, if you open up on the same page, now you're gone. Now they're gone unless you can coordinate those calls to actions on all those link pages, right? Links can be a really, really hard distraction for other people. Okay. If you're doing forms, right, again, careful of how much information you ask, unless you're trying to use it as a qualifying feature, and trying to talk about okay, in order to use our service, you need to have this level of experience, or you need to live in this area, or make this amount of money, have this type of income and such. Okay. Communications choices. How do I talk to you? How do we get in touch with you? Right. If you don't have enough of them, if you only do one, I recommend 2 or 3. So an email address to have people get in touch with you, and a phone number, right? And if you have a chat function, or if you can set something up that way, those are good. If you're looking at shipping and pricing information, if that information isn't set up appropriately, then there's no way that anybody's going to stay. I know personally, if I can't understand what the shipping is and how it's priced, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't look at it. And the last thing is, make sure it all works. So if you're going to use links, if you're going to use part of the process, walk the process yourself. Make sure that you go in, even on somebody else's computer, and say, okay, does what I'm trying to do for my clients work? Because sometimes when you're doing it on your computer over and over again, the results are different from seeing something else. So real quickly, let's talk about some e-commerce information. Think about quality images, really quality images, right? Because you've got something that can't be physically touched. So how do you put a 3D view in it? How do you simulate that the best that you can? Can you do a 360-degree shot of it? Can you do multiple angles? Can you do a video? Or maybe not just a video of the product itself, but people using the product. If you're selling cars, right, instead of just a picture of the car, why not create a picture of someone driving that car and, you know, screaming, "Yay, this is so much fun." Create that level of emotions. Distractions are your enemy in this sense, right? So avoid clutter on your menus. Make sure that your menus are searchable. Make sure the product's searchable. And that's not just using search on your site itself. That's using search within the products with good descriptions, making sure that the people understand what they're getting, right? A searchable headline, searchable description. Now, free shipping. Right, offer the free shipping. Had a conversation with somebody who was selling T-shirts, and they were saying, "Oh, they're not selling as well as I thought." And my question was, "Okay, so how much are you selling them for?" "Oh, well, they're just $15." Okay, but shipping was $10. My suggestion was, why not just sell them for $25 and offer free shipping? That entices people to do things like that in order to click that button for the call to action. Make sure it's hosted on a reliable site. Right? A lot of people are using GoDaddy, there's Bluehost, there's things like that, but there are some really cheap sites that aren't up all the time. And even if they promise you 99.9%, the 0.1% still is 4 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours of downtime. And if that downtime happens during a busy season, during a busy shopping season, you're effectively out of business. Okay. And then make sure that you're getting your reviews. I'll leave with that. so that because people like reviews, they like to see that other people are using it and other people are happy with the product set. So in summary, let me bring it back around. So you want conversion optimization before traffic. You want to make sure that your website converts, good language, has action words, there's a good call to action. You don't want a lot of distractions. You want the minimal there, just less is more or just enough. Have distinct and clear call to actions, action words, things that people can relate to. Don't make your visitors think. Don't make them try to figure out where they have to go or make them work too hard. Make it very easy for them to do business with you. And remember, it's not about you, it's about them. It's about taking them through the buyer journey. How do they like to be sold to, or what is the unique way that they start to do things? Okay. I'll finish with join us for the next webinar. Okay, that'll be Wednesday, July 19th. We'll be talking about inbound marketing practices. If you'd like to get more information about the Digital Minds book that this is all based out of, we'll provide you with the link in order to purchase that. And if you're looking for help in doing any of this stuff, anything around this, please feel free to reach out to me, right? I can be your trail guide, your Sherpa, or I can help you get it done. We have lots of suppliers that are very well versed in doing this, and I'll be happy to have those conversations. And on the last slide, next to the last slide, there's a series of resources that you'll get. Many of them come directly from SCORE and other SCORE sites, but there's a couple of other ones that really talk about conversion rate optimization that you'll be able to walk through. Okay, that was a quick finish.
Thank you, Peter. There was a lot of great information there. So we'll open it up to questions now. And if you would, please type your questions into the webinar chat so that we can all see them. As we noted earlier, this is a bit of a shy group, but hopefully someone has a question.
So one of the things that I mentioned during the conversation was the opt-in, right, or the GDPR, the privacy policies, and things like that. It is an important aspect when you're capturing people's information. The authorities now want to make sure that you are getting permission to send them information. So there's an opt-in policy and things of that nature. And a lot of people now what they're doing is when they send the collateral, whether it's an ebook or whether it's a link to a webinar or something like that, they are actually making sure that they include language as part of that email that says by responding to this, by accepting this, you have opted in to our marketing programs, and here's how you opt out, and including an unsubscribe button and things like that as part of those emails and part of every email that you communicate with your clients.
Okay, we do have one person with their hand up in the participants list, so I'm going to allow Dovi Kahano. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm going to allow you to talk and state your question.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, Stovey, thank you. I loved the presentation. It was really helpful. I wanted to just ask about like PPC and SEO. Is that something that we can bring up, or that's not for this?
It's really outside of what we're talking about right now, but I'll do my best to give you a reasonable response.
So I guess more on the SEO side. So I guess you talk more about on how to present your website and how to, all the different details that you added about building your website and the chat bot and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Where would SEO play a role, and when to take it into account when building a website? Like, at what stage do you start working on your SEO?
From the beginning. So SEO is integral into everything that you're doing. Where I actually like to start, folks, is first let's talk about who your ideal client is and what you're trying to do. What's your target audience, right? Because the bottom line on this is that you can do tactics all you want. However, if you're trying to talk to everybody, your message becomes muted. All right. So again, to go back to your SEO question, right? SEO is built into your content, into your email marketing. It's built through, and there's various levels of search engine optimization that you're going through, because you can talk about local search engine optimization. You can do something called adaptive search engine optimization, where you're consistently changing what you're doing, right? Because this is not a one and done. This is not a set it and forget it perspective. You have to constantly be monitoring, which brings in analytics.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Again, happy to have a deeper conversation with you on that. But this is, it's not just about like one tactic or one aspect. Everything starts to work together in doing these things, and they're really building blocks, right? Think of it in terms of like Legos. You've got your base Legos, and then you start to put pieces together, and it slowly starts to create a building or a car or something of that nature.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the question.
Anyone else have any questions? You can type them into the chat. You can raise hand, and I will unmute you so that you can ask your question, or you can email one of us.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think we have any, we don't have any further questions. It does not appear. So thank you, Peter, for the presentation. Thank you, everyone, for attending. As we mentioned, we will be sending everyone that attended today a copy of the presentation. We will also be posting the video for this on our YouTube site, which is YouTube, I think, /Southeast NJ. So thank you again. And hopefully we will see you on, what is it, July? You said July 19th would be the next one.
Yep.
July 19th. And that's going to be inbound marketing best practices. So thanks again, everyone. And we hope to see you soon.
All right. Thanks. Cheers.